Chairman, I really do believe that over the last 3 years, the U.S. has ceded a lot of leadership in spectrum policy and 5G innovation, both domestically and internationally. That's not good news. Under the first Trump administration, we went from stagnation to global leadership. Congress passed, I wasn't here, but Congress passed the Secure and Trusted Networks Act. But in the time since then, the last 4 years, just the Biden administration's failure to act and focus on divisive things like DEI has really set us back. I am one of the members that serves both on Armed Services, Senator Budd also, and the Commerce Committee. And so there's a bit of a balancing act, I think, that goes with this. And while I think DOD should have a voice in this process, I strongly believe that Congress has already established the NTIA as the primary authority for spectrum allocation, and it must lead rather than act as a rubber stamp for DOD. I think that's one of the issues, because national security has been heard today is very multifaceted. Economic security is national security, and China's coming for our lunch in more than one way. I wanted to ask just a few questions, and I'll try not to ask questions that have already been asked, but it's possible I might. But Dr. Bayless, when we talk about spectrum management and enhancing the ability of commercial and defense users to sort of coexist in those shared bands, what role and how far have we come, and how far do we have to go for that to be really effective with AI as these advancements proceed?
So it's interesting. AI can be used in multiple levels in the new spectrum sharing I should say the new adaptive and reconfigurable paradigm. One level is to assess predict the spectrum that's going to be available for our use, and having this technology in the DoD and commercial hands is very useful. The second is actually inside the devices themselves, to be able to optimize their performance, to make sure a radar transmitter can reconfigure its circuitry after it has to move in frequency to maximize its range so it can detect targets far out. We can use AI to help us reconfigure the circuits quickly and take measurements on board the device. So a lot of our technology developments actually equip this plug-in of AI. In fact, we have one of the world's AI experts, Professor Bob Marks, who has written great books on AI that Congress actually is on their recommended reading list. He's part of SmartUp and working very actively with us to infuse AI into our decision-making for our spectrum adaptive and reconfigurable devices.
And of course, that allows you to maximize, right? Like, it allows you to actually maximize the bands of spectrum, right? As opposed to having maybe overutilization in one place and lack of utilization somewhere else. It's a predictive modeling.
It really could. And I think AI has tremendous power, and we need to marshal it for being able to use the spectrum efficiently and to adapt our technologies to where the spectrum is maximally being shared.
And I'll throw this open for any one of the four. One of the things on a topic like this, to try to ask the question for back home, I actually think that this is one of those topics that it just doesn't come up in a town hall. It doesn't come up on the stump, but it is of critical importance for our country. And so it's with those kind of topics then, how do you, if you were in our position, how would you sort of crystallize why this issue is so important for the American people? And I'd open it up to any one of you. Yeah.
I'll take this quickly. I have to go out and tell people what we're doing, and one of the things that I say is spectrum's the most important dimension of battle. If you can dominate the spectrum, you're going to win the war. So from the DoD side, it's unquestionable. And in fact, the Space Force, we're talking with Space Force people now. The Space Force, the only dimension of battle is spectrum. There are no tanks. There are no soldiers on the ground. It's just spectrum, and we're going to have to be dominant in spectrum. So from the DoD side, that's really important. I think from the commercial side, we are more connected than we've ever been through spectrum. We learned that during the pandemic because we had to use the wireless spectrum to connect with loved ones, and other things. So I think our society certainly sees the need for wireless devices.
Anybody else?
I think the challenge comes into play where we have to afford the military the ability to be agile in the spectrum and be able to maneuver and keep our adversaries off balance. which some of the technologies that Dr. Bayless is developing could help us to do. So if we were to field those, it would make our military more agile when it comes to sharing spectrum at home, and also more agile when it comes to creating problems for our enemies overseas. So that's really important. It'll take time to get to the point where those technologies can be incorporated into our military systems. Until then, we're going to have some hybrid approach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Hickenlooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for being here. Appreciate how busy